Esther began crying. Addie reached over and handed her rag doll to the baby. Esther quieted down. "Addie, there's something I need to talk to you about," Mama said slowly. "Something serious. You listening to me? Your papa and me talked about something before Master Stephen sold him and Sam. Papa was worried about the war, and times getting hard." Addie knew what her mother was going to say. With all that had happened in the past week, Addie had almost forgotten about the secret she had been keeping, but now she let it out. "You and Papa planned for us all to run away," she said. "How did you know that?" Mama asked. "I heard y'all talking one night," Addie answered. "I didn't mean to listen, but I couldn't help it." "Then you already know we plan to go north," said Mama. "Well, we still going." "What about Papa and Sam?" Addie asked. "Shouldn't we wait for them to come back for us?" "They ain't coming back here ever again, no matter what," Mama replied. "Papa's plan was to go to Philadelphia. He told Sam about it the day after you heard us talking. I aim to stick to that plan, and we leaving tomorrow night." Addie looked into her mother's thin face. There were fine lines of worry around her brown eyes. "Tomorrow? But what if we get caught?" Addie asked, her voice shaking. "There ain't no choice, honey. I never thought Master Stevens would break up our family after your papa and me served him our whole life, but I was wrong." Mama shook her head. "After what he done, Addie, I can't keep you safe here no more. I'm scared that man who bought Sam and your papa might come back for you. I can't stop him if he do. I ain't gonna sit here and wait for him or anybody to come take you from me." Esther started to cry again, and Addie patted her gently. Then she said, "Mama, I'm scared, but I want to go to freedom. Esther want to go too." She turned to her baby sister. "Don't you want to go to freedom, Esther?" Addie asked. "Don't you want to go find Papa and Sam in Philadelphia?" "Addie, go to my pallet and get what's under it," Mama said. Under Mama's pallet were 2 large kerchiefs and some clothes. They were not clothes for a woman and a girl, but for a man and a boy. "Mama, what we gonna do with these?" asked Addie. "I'm gonna pack them kerchiefs with some food, a drinking gourd, things like that. We wearing the clothes," answered Mama. "We gonna be disguised?" asked Addie in surprise. "They are disguised, but they more than that," explained Mama. "Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon got them for us. When Master Stevens send out his dogs after us, it's gonna be hard for them to track our smell if we got on somebody else's clothes." "Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon should come with us, Mama," said Addie. "Papa say Uncle Solomon know where the safe house is. They should come to freedom too." "They too old to come to freedom, Addie. They can't run," Mama said. "They would slow us down." "Esther can't run neither, and she coming," Addie said. Mama lowered her head. Addie knew something was wrong. Her mother would not look at her. Then Addie saw tears on her mother's face. "Mama, what's the matter?" Addie asked. "I may as well tell you now, honey," her mother said, her voice slow and sad. "Esther ain't coming with us." Addie could not believe her ears. She must not have heard right. She picked up Esther and held her close. "No, Mama," Addie said. "We ain't leaving Esther." "Addie, did you hear me?" Mama's voice was soft but firm. "Your sister is staying here." "But why? Papa said we was all going," Addie insisted. "Honey, it was different when your papa and Sam was going with us. They could help carry Esther. Now I got to carry her by myself." "I could help, Mama. Let me help. I could carry her," Addie begged. "Besides," Mama went on, "Esther might cry any time. Her crying would give us away. I could keep her quiet, Mama. I just know I could, Addie said. I'd let her hold Janie while we was running. Addie, Esther can't come, her mother said. Addie hugged Esther again. This is the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life, Mama went on. I love Esther as much as I love you and Sam, but we can't take her. Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon is gonna keep her. She just a baby, so Master Stevens ain't gonna sell her. He can't make no money selling a baby. Addie cradled Esther in her arms, gently rocking her back and forth. The three of them sat quietly for a long time. Then Mama broke the silence. The war ain't gonna last forever. When it's over, we gonna get Esther back. Our family will be together again. Lay down now, Mama said, blowing out the candle. Mama, can we all sleep together tonight? Addie asked. I'd like that, Mama said. Addie, Mama, and Esther crowded onto Addie's pallet. Esther was sandwiched between Addie and Mama. The baby held tight to Janie. Addie moved as close to Esther as she could to feel the baby's warm breath on her face. She put her arms around her tiny sister. Addie tried not to cry, but itchy, hot tears were running down her face, and she didn't bother brushing them away. She felt her mother's arms around both her and the baby. Beyond, from the deeper darkness of the woods, Addie heard a single owl hooting in the night. Chapter 4. Into the Night. The next night, after it was fully dark, with not a streak of orange or red in the sky, Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon came to Addie's cabin. Addie and her mother were in their disguises, with their kerchiefs packed. The well-worn clothes were baggy on them. Esther was sleeping on Addie's pallet. Uncle Solomon had 2 hats with him. One was a straw hat that he gave Addie's mother. The other, a felt hat he placed on Addie's head. Now, there's magic in your hat, Uncle Solomon said to Addie, trying to cheer her up. Addie did not feel like smiling. Don't you believe that hat got magic? Uncle Solomon asked. He snapped his fingers near her left ear. Why, look what's come out your ear. You must have forgot to wash behind it. Look at this half-dime I found there. He handed the coin to Addie. Addie reached behind her ear. How'd you do that? She asked. Shh, Uncle Solomon said. It's magic. You hold on to that half-dime. You gonna need it where you going. Freedom cost. You hear me? Freedom's got its cost. Come on, Solomon. They ain't got all night, Auntie Lula said. Look here, I got some food and things for you, she said, handing Addie's mother a small sack. Addie's mother put the sack into her kerchief, and then she bent down to pick up Esther. Esther woke and began to fuss. Addie watched Mama as she hugged the baby hard and kissed her over and over. She searched Mama's face for tears, but there weren't any. Not on the outside, at least. Addie kissed Esther, too, and stroked her head. Don't worry, Esther. We coming back for you, she whispered softly as she handed her rag doll to the baby. You hold on to Janie until I see you again, Addie said. Then her mother gave Esther to Auntie Lula. We gonna take good care of Esther. Don't worry, Auntie Lula said, looking into the baby's eyes as she held her. She gonna be right here when you come back for her. Uncle Solomon gave Addie and Mama some final advice. Go fast as you can at night and hide during the day. Every time you see water, go through it. A creek, a river, I don't care if it ain't nothing but a puddle, go through it. That way, you won't hardly leave no scent for the dogs to pick up on. And watch out for them Confederate soldiers. They dressed up in gray uniforms. They can be mean as snakes, and if they catch you, They gonna bring you back to slavery. God be with you, Auntie Lula said, as Addie and her mother turned to leave the little cabin. Esther began to cry as they slipped out into the damp, warm night and ran into the woods. Addie looked back to catch a final glimpse of her baby sister, but tears blurred her sight. The full moon shone in the eastern sky, looking like a half dime shining in the bottom of a well. At first, the moonlight shone through the tall pines, filling the forest with a silver light. Addie and her mother ran from shadow to shadow, like a deer with her fawn. But as they moved deeper into the woods, only a small glimmer of moonlight made its way through the thick branches of the trees. There were dark, eerie shadows everywhere, and it was hard to see. Mama took Addie's hand as they hurried along, stumbling over vines and stumps hidden by the darkness. Addie expected to hear the comforting night sound of the crickets that she always heard at the cabin, but the deeper they got in the woods, the stranger the sounds became. Owls screeched high in the pines. The wind moaned like a wounded animal. Branches from saplings reached out for her, stinging her face as they slapped against her. A bat swooped down from the trees, its wings beating the air just above their heads. Suddenly, a dark form stirred in the bushes ahead, moving toward them. Addie screamed and froze. Mama jerked to a stop and clamped her hand over Addie's mouth. "Hush up," her mother whispered sharply. "You can't holler out." The bushes moved again. Addie's heart beat very fast. Boom, 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 boom. Slowly, Mama took her hand away from Addie's mouth. "It's only a possum or a skunk," she said calmly. Addie let out a sigh of relief. "Mama, I ain't mean to holler," she whispered. "We left Esther behind because her crying might give us away, but I hollered louder than Esther ever could." Addie remembered what her father had said about not always showing your feelings. She would have to learn to keep them inside sometimes. All through the night, Addie and Mama stumbled through the darkness. They waded through swampy places where their feet were sucked deep into oozing mud. They clawed through prickly vines. The thorns snatched at their clothes and dug into Addie's hands until they bled. Bare roots tore through the tough skin on the soles of Addie's feet. Once, she stubbed her toe on a rock and fell down. But this time, Addie did not cry out. All night long, she and Mama pushed on and on. Just when Addie thought she could not go another step, the sky began to lighten. She could see Mama's face for the first time in hours. It was streaked with dirt. She touched her own face and felt dried blood on her cheek from a cut below her eye. "We better stop soon, Mama," Addie said softly. "It's getting light out, and somebody might see us." "You're right," Mama said. "We need to look for a hiding place." They went a little farther and found a small cave. They crawled inside and huddled together, waiting for sleep to come. When they woke up hours later, it was hot. Mosquitoes buzzed around their heads, drawn to the stickiness of their sweaty skin. Addie slapped at them, but it was no use. "You must be hungry," Mama said, reaching into her bundle. She handed Addie a piece of Auntie Lula's cornbread. It was hard and dry, but it tasted good to Addie. She washed it down with a drink of water from the gourd. When they finished eating, Mama reached into the bundle again. "I got something for you," she said. Addie watched eagerly as Mama opened her hand. In her palm was a small, shiny shell. "I want you to have this," Mama said. "It's something me and your papa been saving for you. This cowrie shell belonged to Papa's grandma. She was stole from Africa when she was no bigger than you. None of her family was on the ship with her when she came here from across the water. She wore this shell on a necklace. Your papa was going to give it to you when he was older, but I think you should have it now, Addie. Your great-grandma's name was Aduke. That name got a meaning where she come from. It means much loved. I saved her name for you, Addie. Addie was silent for a moment. Then she looked into her mother's gentle brown eyes. Mama, can I hold the shell tonight? Sure you can. I got something special to put it on, her mother said, pulling a leather string out of her bundle. Mama, that's one of Sam's shoelaces, Addie said. I wanted you to have something of his, too, her mother said. She pulled the cord through a small hole in one end of the shell, knotted it, and then put it around Addie's neck. Remember what I told you about the love you need to carry in your heart? It ain't nothing you can touch like this shell. But when you find yourself feeling sad or scared, you dip into that love, Addie. It's a well with no bottom, and it can give you strength and courage. Addie rubbed the shell between her fingers. Its rounded top was smooth as soap. The flat underside was also smooth, except for the middle where the shell closed in on itself. There it felt like the teeth of a fine comb. My great-grandma must have been brave to come across the water all alone. I'm gonna be brave just like she was, Addie said. She was brave, Addie, Mama answered, and you brave too. But there's one thing different about you and your great-grandma. Her journey ended in slavery. Yours, girl, is taking you to freedom. They sat in silence a long time, looking at the cowrie shell.